So, Devil May Cry 5 is finally out, and it's the littiest, sexiest, demon slayest thing this side of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. With this game being the conclusion of the Sons of Sparta saga, try saying that 3 times fast. Do we need to go back? We've spent at least 3 games with Rebellion, Yamato, Dante, Virgil, Lady, and the demon sword Sparta, without us really knowing exactly what happened, especially specifically with Mundus. All that being said, I gotta ask, what is Sparta's story? And do we need a Devil May Cry 0?
Devil May Cry.
Let's discuss. Now, the question I asked about what's Sparta's story, we kind of already know the answer to. According to the Devil May Cry wiki, prior to his rebellion, Sparta was the most powerful demon swordsman and the right-hand man for Dark Emperor Mundus. During this time, he was the mentor of the twin brothers Baul and Modeus, and he entrusted his teachings to Modeus. At some point, he saw the tyranny and injustice of the Dark Emperor and rebelled, fighting to save humanity. Before his rebellion, he made a pact with his students to live true to their aspirations and to carry them out. He alone defeated the hellish host, before moving on to the Emperor of Darkness himself. Sparta defeated Mundus, sealing him into a marble vault, and what was left of Mundus' armies retreated back into the demon world. In order to close the gateway, Sparta used his own blood, along with the blood of a human priestess, in conjunction with his sword and a mystical amulet. He poured his demonic energy into his beloved sword to close the door between realms, the Temene Gru. Though this also robbed him of the lion's share of his abilities. As an added measure, he also imprisoned within the tower its gatekeepers, Cerberus, Agni and Rudra, Nevin, Beowulf, and Leviathan, and took the names of the 7 sins in order to imprison them and set them as seals keeping the Temene Gru underground. Later, he sealed another path to hell in Fortuna using the Yamato. Sparta's activities over the next 2,000 years are shrouded in legend, though it is understood that for a time after defeating Mundus, he benevolently ruled over the humans before eventually vanishing. The demon Burial implies that he encountered Sparta when he came to the human world 2 millenniums prior. At some point, Sparta once fought alongside the Protectorate and Matier, later crossing into the demon world and returned. During the time in Hell, Sparta fought against both Argosax and Bulwark. Sparta later appeared in the 20th century where he met and fell in love with a woman named Eva, who bore him twin sons. He would later disappear and eventually died at some point under unrevealed circumstances. Now, we kind of have a rough rundown of the timeline to the legendary Dark Knight, but I feel like I'm not the only one who would wish they could actually, play through it. Some would argue that the mystery behind Sparta adds to the legacy of his character in universe, as even through Devil May Cry 5, demons still hold his name with a mixture of respect and heavy vitriol. But I think this offers up an opportunity. I'm sure many want to explore the future that Nero has now with Lady, Trish, and Nico as the ones running Devil May Cry. By the way, Capcom, we need that Ladies Night DLC. Oh my god. But a prequel still shouldn't be outside the question. You've had a handful of HD collections and re-releases of the older games, but what the Story of Sparta game, or games, could give us is a lot more in-depth context, as well as an opportunity to flesh out these many locations we have seen across the franchise. I'd be curious to see how the writing would balance out Dante's rebellion and Virgil's more level-headedness, and his reputation with women. Speaking of women, this would be an ample opportunity for the developers to explore the relationship Sparta had with his sons, as well as with his wife Ava. Now, if we lived in a perfect world, I would love for Itsuno and Kamiya to put whatever differences they hold aside, and just make Eva a retired Umbra witch, who is also just a talented human like Lady, as we see the relationship start off, a little bit rocky, but over the course of the series we see them grow closer and eventually see Sparta settle down and raise his sons in secrecy for a few years until he vanishes and Eva tragically dies. I thought it would make the already heavy Sparta family dynamic much more tragic, as we would see the 2 sons' relationship grow only to know that they died apart from one another. Sparta presumably stopping a demon army, or something like that. Now, you're asking, Will, how would you even put this in one game? Well, like I said, games. Why not spread it across several games? Devil May Cry 0.1 explores the Dark Knight Sparta working with his two pupils Baul and Modeus, as he is forced to choose whether to side with the demons or continue work with Mundus, until he eventually betrays his demon kin to protect humanity, probably for some sort of sympathetic reason. He teams up with the human priestess and makes a lock to hell with the Temene Gru, losing much of his power in the process. It's a callback, as we see the origins of the bosses from DMC3 and the Seven Sins enemies as well. Sparta moves on to continue protecting the humans from any other demon portals. Devil May Cry 0.2. We see Sparta and Fortuna closing more demon portals with the Yamato, at some point encountering Burial, who is pissed over the defeat of his father Mundus. He defeats him as well as a few other demons as Sparta becomes a legendary but benevolent ruler over the city, who they see him as a god. We jump cut to much further as Sparta must return to Hell, join with the Protectorate and Matier at whatever times, and prevent the rise of Argosax and Bulwark into the human world. So, a nice blend of old bosses. This is the game that introduces Ava and Sparta's relationship, as she could potentially help him stay motivated to continue protecting humans. Sparta finishes his quest to discover that Ava is pregnant. The two embrace, all is happy. Last we see is Sparta with his happy little family in their cottage home, but both Sparta and Ava are alerted that another invasion is coming. Sparta goes to Hell to close the portal being opened, while Ava stays to protect her boys, and, if need be, close the portal should Sparta fail. Maybe. I don't know. Final battle ends up with Sparta taking on an army and continuing to fight demons until his body gives out, or maybe he wins but can't go back home and ends up dying sometime in Hell. Meanwhile, a few demons had slipped through, seeking revenge on Sparta ever since his betrayal, led by the followers of Burial, who overwhelmed the witch, burned the house down, killing Ava and orphaning the two children. The tragedy that the two who grew so much love together died, unfortunately, apart. So yeah, that's my imaginary scenario for 2, maybe 3 DMC0 games exploring the history of Sparta. I think it would be a great way to explore the family dynamic, flesh out old characters, and just let the player feel why Sparta is so revered and get more connected when you know the history of the series. Or they could just remake DMC2, that's fine by me. Anyways, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I post content usually monthly, but generally whenever I want. I'm working on getting better, but I'll see you guys next time. With this game being the conclusion of the Sons of Sparta saga, according to the Devil May Cry, goddamn. Sparta's activities over the next 2,000 years are shrouded in legend, though it's understood that for a time after defeating Mundus, he at some point, Sparta once fought against the... He would later disappear and eventually died at some point Some would argue that the mystery behind Sparta adds to the legacy of his character in-universe, as even though Devil May Cry 5... We've had a handful of HD collections and re-releases of the older games, but what the story of Sparta games? So here we have Devil May Cry 0.2. We see Sparta and Fortuna closing more demon portals with the Yamato, at some point encountering Burial, who is pissed over the defeat of his father Mundus. He defeats him as well as We jump cut to much further as Sparta must return to Hell, join with the Protectorate and Matier